Hello and welcome to the show. Now, the Lotus Elise GT1 might be just about the wildest looking Lotus I've ever seen. I'll be honest, up until its inclusion in the latest DLC pack for Forza, I did not know about this car. However, I was certainly rather interested when I saw this as a vehicle being included. GT1 cars were pretty damn mental machinery, and their road-going counterparts rather incredible. And looking at this car, it kind of reminds me a bit of a silhouette racer in many ways. You can just about see the Elise underneath all of the body kit, and certainly around at the back of the car, you can kind of see where the normal Elise goes and where the body kit has been added on to make it huge and wide and so on. It's a fantastically mad looking vehicle. Truth be told, in terms of a GT1 car, it never really quite worked. Look how difficult it would be to get into that car. The width you have to get to try and get into the vehicle it's ridiculous. It wasn't the fastest of GT1 cars. It didn't have the power, didn't have the top speed to keep up with the likes of the Mercedes, the Porsches, the McLarens, and so on, and wasn't reliable enough either. So ultimately, it's kind of failed in its category. The one that we have in Forza, however, isn't the race car. This was the loan, and there was only one road-going version of the Elise GT1, which means while it looks like a bonkers mad car, in actual fact, it only has 350 horsepower. Okay, it's relatively light. It's under £2,500, but 350 horsepower isn't a huge amount. It's enough, certainly, to still make it a pretty fast car. It's a low S-Class vehicle here. So what would it be like to go racing with them? Our first race, we would head to the Laguna Seca Raceway. Turn 1 would be plenty of two-wide action, as you would expect, really, through here. Most of it, I think it's 3 wide further back. I started right at the very back, or certainly right down the very back of this field. So plenty of work for us to be doing back there. The car we're riding on board with here has been too wide through the first quarters. Will get himself in front as we head into these fast turns. Now, with a mere 350 horsepower, this thing is hardly as difficult to drive, as ludicrous as its appearance suggests. In fact, it's a fantastic car to go racing with. The only downside is a fair bit of understeer. I say fair bit of understeer. The front end doesn't quite turn in the way you expect it, and certainly the back end has an awful lot more grip than the front. So yeah, it does tend to understeer a little bit on the exit of the corners. You'll jump on the power, and you won't get any misbehaving from the car. You won't get sliding around. But yeah, understeer out of corners is a fairly common occurrence. It's a good pass from the silver car here to move up a position up into 4th around the corkscrew. The blue car's going to follow as well around the outside. Already you can see cars in the background. This was kind of, the opening laps were a bit of a learning experience with the Elise, figuring out what you could and couldn't quite get away with. And there was a common theme of cars managing to just understeer a little bit off the course and go for a trip across the sand. The red Elise here trying his best to get around the outside. Couldn't quite do it. He actually stuck a wheel on the dirt, and that'll slow his run down towards the next corner. The white car follows suit on the exit. That was one of the corners where we saw a fair few cars off Rally Crossing, the one we're heading up towards next. Yep, this is another place. You'd get the car sort of turned in, you'd think you'd be okay to jump on the power, and then it would just sort of wash out a little bit too much, and sure enough, the white car would lose out in all of that. It was a fairly common mistake. I think pretty much all of us went off the circuit at some point with that sort of an issue, but there we go. The green car in a little bit of trouble here, up towards the corkscrew. Blue vehicle going to get around the outside to complete the pass. Up ahead, both the red and silver cars running very deep, trying to outbrake one another into the corkscrew, costing each other some time. The green vehicle straight back into the fight, sniffing around, trying to find a way back past, not quite going to be able to do it. Has a half look up the inside, realises he's not going to be making it. The red car ends up out wide onto the sand, and as ever, with a one-make race, you end up out of position a little bit, and you're going to be in all sorts of trouble. Loses a position both to the blue car, the green vehicle, and the car behind that is caught up, and is now going to go side by side down towards turn 1. Is a common thing. When you have everybody racing, these cars are all being raced completely stock, completely identical, you make a little mistake in a big old group, and it is difficult to recover quick enough before you start hemorrhaging positions. As I said, for me, it wasn't the greatest start of the race. I started down the back, got a bit delayed, and got stuck in some traffic. However, at least when you're stuck in traffic, it means you're going to have some cars to be racing against. I like the car. I like the way that the Elise drove. I was a little bit later on the brakes than the cars ahead. I wasn't kind of intending on going for that move at turn 1. It was sort of a case of I had braked later than the vehicles ahead, and it was going to go up the inside. Thankfully, he saw that where my car was going, gave me space on the inside to get the move done cleanly as it gets my turn to just run the wheels across the dirt on the exit. Another quite impressive trait with the Elise is that you could get away with a surprising amount of contact. Often with your race-based rear-wheel drive cars, the tiniest tap on them will send them into big slides and you'll get into big trouble with that sort of thing. Not so much. I mean, of course you can still spin the Elise, absolutely, but they could get away with a little bit more body contact than you would perhaps expect from a GT1 car, essentially. Down towards turn 1 we go again, too wide. This time, it's the front and rear quarters of cars getting locked together. Carts both of them out a little bit wide. The vehicle behind this battle would make the most of the opportunity. I'm not even sure what colour to call that one. It's a kind of meld of yellow and blue, and it's a TVR colour, essentially, is what it is. So we'll call it the TVR Elise. That would get the speed around the outside. He would then go for some rallycross as well. Get two cars in one go. Great bit of a opportunistic overtaking as these two continue to fight. This time around, it's the poor green car that's found himself out of position into one corner. Lost 2 places so far. Now it's the red car's turn to have a very, very big run, although it's difficult to go too wide at the top of the hill. Having said that, the green car's a little bit slow on the exit. It's going to put him in trouble up towards the corkscrew as they'll go side by side across the crest. Green vehicle's trying his best to fight it, but you're not going to be able to do too much with that one. Another red Lotus has come to join in this battle. Again, it's the whole... You lose a bit of time, you end up out of position, and the whole train wants to come flying past. For me, I had cleared this group. I then made a mistake at the bottom of the corkscrew, got my car sideways, lost a fair bit of time, and then suddenly I was back into the middle of the fight. It was 3 wide up towards the final corner. Somehow the green vehicle managing to maintain some speed across the sand. No one's quite sure how he managed to get that one done. I think we were too busy fighting each other with almost trying to fit 4 Elises down the start-finish straight. That doesn't quite fit. These are wide cars. These are wide cars indeed, and 4 wide down there does not particularly go. I'm back to doing a big dive at turn 1. It had worked for me in the past. Would try and get it to work for me again. Not quite this time. Everybody's busy trying to sort of crisscross, cut underneath one another. I get a big tag, go sideways, but I can gather it all back up and haven't actually lost very much time in the battle. I'm back behind the white car, and I have got a brown Elise for company. However, we're all still very close together. Once more, we get a nice close-up of the back. See what I mean about the silhouette race car rear end of this one. I've got good speed, but there's nowhere really to go, and the brown vehicle is starting to pressure me, and I'm in that awkward situation. You go too aggressive trying to find a way past, you're going to lose a position to the car behind. But I had good speed and wanted to try and find a way past him. We're talking barely a few centimetres between the vehicles there at the top of the hill. Not much that I can do at this stage. I duck out to get to the inside. I get a tap again from a car behind. Amazingly, despite all of that, managed to pull it up in time and we all make it through the corkscrew safely. Didn't expect to be saying that, I will be honest. Unfortunately, the cars behind did end up tangling at the bottom of the corkscrew. That would drop them behind. The brown car ended up taking avoiding action, would end up off the circuit. Lifts, I think, to let us back past, to have not gained any advantage. In all of that, again, we're driving these pretty damn ludicrous machinery, and they're remarkably forgiving. They're remarkably forgiving for sort of small little incidents. Could have turned out to be much bigger incidents, that much is for sure. At the front of the race, it was a lot less hectic. The lead 3 managed to break away from the squabbling groups. In terms of lap times, I think about half a second covered a large amount of the field, but cars further back get stuck in traffic. You get stuck in battles, you'll lose 2 or 3 seconds a lap quite easily sometimes, and you can't make that ground back up. You can see the top 4 all sort of within visible sight of one another, nobody really making enough ground to have anything happen. So while a relatively mundane race at the front, it was absolute mayhem further back. Good fun mayhem to be a part of, but there we go. race number 2, and we headed off to the Watkins Glen full circular track. I haven't gone to that often, although I do quite like this circuit. Again, in towards the first quarter, plenty of cars going to be running side by side through here, as you would expect, and then, well, plenty of vehicles trying to fit too wide on the run up through the S's. There was a little bit of a touch between a couple of cars heading up. That's a fast section. It's flat out fairly easily in these vehicles, although it's less easy when you've had a tag and you're starting to go a little bit sideways. It's not a fun place to be on the verge of losing control, especially not on the opening lap when you're towards the front of the field. There's a lot of cars carrying a lot of speed. Also, you can't see very much when you're following one of these cars closely. Certainly not if you use cockpit view or bumper view and so on, because, well, there's a lot of wing. There's a lot of wing. They are pretty impressive in the aerodynamic department. Still, we fight side by side on this opening lap. The brown vehicle having a look, trying to make a pass stick. There's a long way to go around the outside of somebody. If you can make it stick, you'll be on the inside for the next turn. The brown car just not quite able to take the speed. There was half a gap he tried shoving his nose into. Didn't quite work. Now the TVR coloured vehicle is fighting back on the outside. Actually gets a really, really good run up the hill. I love the camera shots, or the front on camera shots at this circuit. It would be the blue car that would get the pass done, and it's a lovely dive up the inside. Oh, perfectly judged pass. Gets it through, gets it clear just enough so that the purple car, pink car, can't get a cutback. It's a brilliant last minute change of direction to get the braking spot on, although the purple vehicle having a look back at the inside into the penultimate turn. It's a fast turn, not much in the way of a braking zone, and in taking that tighter line, actually not being able to carry enough speed through that corner, will lose a position to the brown car as they round that final corner. A lot goes on in the opening laps or the opening lap, in fact, in this race. A lot of positional changes. Everyone's slowing down for turn 1. The purple car not able to do anything about moving up a position here. Now, this bluey, yellowy car was very, very much on a charge, absolutely flying around the Watkins circuit. Was up into 4th place, wanted to try and take 3rd, and spotted a gap. There was an Elise-sized gap on the inside through the long right hand there. However, it's not such a straightforward pass. It's it's a bit of a dodgy corner. There's a fairly small braking zone. You kind of end up often being stuck side by side for a good couple of corners. However, is able to carry that speed. Will have the momentum into this long uphill turn. The red vehicle again is looking to try and fight back. Is all the way out to the edge of the road, not quite on the grass. Again, it's another fantastic overtake. The bluey yellowy car was working well at cutting up through the field, and as you can see, the big old train of vehicles behind. Now, we had, on the most part, figured out the driving of the Elise, shall we say. We kind of got used to the understeer that you were going to get from the cars. That being said, it was still easy to make just little mistakes, and this circuit, in a couple of places, that could really punish you. The white car, too much speed on the way out of one of these turns, and the tyre bundle will do the rest. The tyre bundles are horrendously dangerous here in Forza, and unfortunately, no one can really stop in time. It's a blind corner, and 4 vehicles involved in that particular shunt. Really easy mistake to make. I'm very glad I was actually running a bit wide on that corner on my own, and because I was, when the car went into the tyre bundle, I could actually avoid it by diving onto the grass and squeezing through the gap. It's, an easy mistake to make with these cars, and at that one particular point is the place where you really can't afford to be making the mistake. Still, the bluey yellowy car was on the march up into a 3rd place, now trying to go around the outside through the S's. That's a scary place going side by side. Admittedly, less scary when you're in cars like these. They are quite, I say safe. Perhaps safe isn't the right word, but they are nice and planted vehicles, these ones. It's a little bit less terrifying going side by side in a car that you can quite easily trust through there. Again, it's another great pass into the chicane. The light blue car stuck on an outside line, just couldn't really do anything about getting his vehicle into the position that he really wanted for that corner. Behind this sort of charge up towards the lead, there was still plenty of stuff going on. This now the fight for, 3rd and back, essentially. The brown vehicle having a look for a way up past. At this circuit, we were finding that overtakes were kind of taking a couple of corners to really pay off. And again, when you're in these big groups of cars, you do an overtaking attempt that doesn't quite work out, and that can put you in a fair bit of trouble. Brown car looking for a way up into fourth, and in doing so has slowed himself down. Purple vehicle now on the offensive, if you like, and the purple car could go on the offensive. There's a bit of a gap back to me, who manages to brush the wall ever so slightly. The purple car's not got to worry about losing a position at this particular moment in time, whereas the brown car, you go too aggressive, try to find a way past, and it's going to lose you sometimes a position. In this case, the brown vehicle had managed to hold on, had managed to fend off the attack and just get himself that little bit of space. At the front of the race, the leader was now starting to come under increased pressure. However, there wasn't too many laps left in the race, so was desperately trying to fend off. Sneaking up the inside is a difficult manoeuvre. Of all the corners at Watkins, that is one of the more difficult ones to try and get passes done. Likewise, this penultimate turn is not the easiest spot to get passes complete. While you'll get up the inside, it's how much speed you lose through the next couple of corners. If you end up on a slightly wonky line, and the leader, sure enough, around that final turn is out a little bit wide. In fact, third place brushes the wall as well. In all of that, you lose just that little bit of momentum. And again, we're all in exactly the same machinery. That little bit of momentum loss is enough to cost you a smidge of time down towards turn one. Now, we'll see a few cars ending up out across the curve. You don't actually really want to be doing that. You can very easily end up losing time by running out wide. The white car is back under huge pressure as they run through the S's. Now, we've already seen this car make one pass into the bus stop. The leader goes very, very defensive where you really want to position the car. In fact, the leader gets a big slide on the way in that makes it rather difficult for second place to have anywhere to go in all of that. Where when the car ahead of you is a little bit out of shape into that very high-speed chicane, you don't really want to be putting your vehicle alongside. You're going to end up in the same incident if things go a little bit wrong. So wisely, just can't really do anything at that section. Backs out of trying to make it too wide. An awkward place, and the battle there would continue onwards. While there were a few cars knocked out and certainly shunted a fair way back because of one particular incident. It's all about 4 cars impacted by, shall we say. There was still some good racing further back. In this one, these two here had a fairly race-long battle for position. The green car getting a very, very good run out of the final corner. The white vehicle pushing it a little bit too much, kicking up some dirt, some dust on that exit down towards the first corner. The green car's just got to make sure you can get it stopped, get it turned and not run out too wide. Sure enough, the white car pushes it too much on the outside, and there's not going to be enough speed, not going to be enough grip to make that one stick. Would have to drop back into a line as they run up through the S's. At the front, it would be a little bit of a mistake from the white car. Drop back to second. This battle for first would rage until the very final lap. Third had caught up. It was very much a 3-car battle as they headed around these final corners, but were rather running out of time to get any overtakes done. The corner that had been such a problem for a number of cars, it was the third place vehicle threw it in with too much speed. He would end up out wide along the tyre bundles. Didn't quite get spun into traffic this time around. Would get it back on the circuit, but loses a huge amount of time. At the end of the day, there's nothing to really lose from throwing it into those final corners. He was well clear of the vehicles in fourth. However, it would be the bluey-yellowy car from Massive Charge through the field that would take victory, but only just. It was, again, another fantastic race. This time it was more at the front of the race that we had the action. Laguna is more the mid-pack, lower down the order. At Watkins, it was all about the lead. These Elises are brilliant. I have to say, while they are a touch understeery, and most people had, the same opinion that they could do with a little bit more front-end grip. I think for a filming session, for a one-make race, this is one of the very, very few times where everybody racing liked the cars. Everybody racing wanted to do more races with these vehicles. In fact, a lot of people would say they wanted to see these as, like the next Turbo Taurus series and that kind of thing, because the Elise GT1 is a brilliant, brilliant car to drive in stock form. While yes, it's not massively powerful, it isn't the crazy Larry machine that you might think it would be looking at the car. It is excellent fun to drive, you can have some really, really very close racing with the cars. You can get away with a little bit of light touring car contact between them, and they'll be okay with all of that. Once you've learned to deal with the understeer, you just get the hang of the way that the cars drive. Yeah, they are very, very rewarding vehicles, and in many ways very easy cars to push hard around a racetrack. So you get plenty of rather exciting racing. I really like the Elise. I think it's a brilliant car in this game. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.